I'll be there in a second. Old Tom, he just got back from northern Arkansas where he made several purchases of old test equipment, and he wanted me to take a look at it. Well, let's go see what he's got. And he has got a nice haul here. He's got a signal generator, an audio generator, which is a Heath kit. That's worth keeping. A signal generator Heath kit. He's got an AC meter Heath kit. He's got a signal tracer Heath kit. He's got a signal generator Heath kit. He's doing, that's a signal tracer. And then he's got a tube checker. What kind is that?
That's a Syncor. Or that's an ICO.
That's an ICO. He's got an ICO 667. And he's got another one over here, which is a BK model 700. And he's got a Mighty Mite. Where's the Mighty Mite? Right here?
Yep.
Another small Mighty Mite. I don't know what kind this is, a Mighty Mite. I don't know what the model is on this thing. What is it? Doesn't say. Anyway, it doesn't matter. That's a nice little tube checker to keep also. We'll close those here in a second. You made out like a bandit on this stuff. I don't see any problem at all. This is a Superior Instruments. I'm not familiar with these sort of things. It's just a vacuum tube voltmeter is what it looks like. And then, so I've recommended to Tom. He already bought them, and I recommend. Here's an ICO signal generator here too, TC10 or T10.
And here's all the manuals,
which is pretty nice. He's got manuals to go with it. This old fella was what, going out of, he needed some money for...
He used to be in the repair business. And
yeah, this is great stuff here. Yeah.
That's for this.
Yeah.
Instruction manual.
Yeah, now you're going to have to pick up with some supplementals for that, but I recommended to Tom that he keep all the Heath kit stuff. And anytime he sees Heath kit, he should pick it up, Everybody knows that, all of us old guys. The other stuff, but he definitely needs a tube checker, and I don't see a single problem with that big one right there, or this one. It's always good to have a backup. So you made out really good on this deal. Really good. Got a substitution handbook, an RCA tube manual, and what is this thing here?
Radio Man's Guide.
Radio Man's Guide, electronics, television. Back in the day, these were the things, These were the things. These were the things. Everybody relied on that stuff big time. All right, I think you made out pretty good, boy. Are you going back up to see this fella or what?
Well, I wanted to go through these and see how many are. None of this has been turned on in 20 years.
No, well, you don't really want to be turning any of it on till you look inside.
He's not sure.
Yeah, especially the Heath kits. Don't be turning those on because, first of all, I'm sure they were functional when he had them if he was a repairman, but they've laid around for 20 years now, and you've got switches and everything that may not be working as good as they should. So, take your time. We'll go through them one at a time, okay?
All right.
All right. We can do it. I'm real familiar with Heath kit stuff. Not a problem.
Here.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is that time again when I had my yearly physical about 10 days ago. And every January is when I have it. And the doc said this time, guess what? Guess what, John? You're going to be due a colonoscopy in about 6 months, which means you won't see me for another year if everything goes all right. So we need to get your colonoscopy scheduled between now and maybe the next 6 months. Well, I don't have any problem with that. I'm a cancer survivor, as they say. I had cancer years ago, and there's a risk there for me that's higher than most people who have never had cancer. And but there's something, I always pass it along to you guys. I always say, hey, look, this is important stuff. These colonoscopies, people die from this colon cancer. You got to understand it's part of American life. We got to fight it every step of the way, and it is a preventable disease. Let me put this thing in perspective here. Every year in the United States, 30,000 people die from gun-related incidents, whether it be murders, accidents, whatever. Mostly murders, okay? People shooting each other for no reason, crazy stuff. And then, it's all over the news. Oh, the news is up in the air, the politicians are up in the air, all the gun, take away the gun guys is up in the air. Everybody's up in the air. It's a big deal. Politicians use it to, generate fervor. And of course, we Americans, we always fall for it. Yeah, sure. We know what's going on, okay? It's just constantly. That's all you ever hear. Take away guns, take away guns, Anyway, On the other hand, there's 30,000 killed by guns, but there are 50,000 a year who die from colon cancer. Now, what do you hear about colon cancer on the news? You ever hear a politician even talk about it? Is it on the news? You know, do they come up on, you know, CNN and MSNBC and Fox and all? Do they ever talk about colon cancer? You know, no, you never hear a word about it. It's almost like we don't want to talk about that. You know, we want to talk about 30,000 dying. You know, it's more politically the right thing to do. But over here, when 50,000 are dying, no, we don't care. We don't care that 50,000 are dying. It doesn't matter. Which tells you how phony the entire 30,000 gun argument is. You know, it's just all, it's there. It's unfortunate people are being killed, but it's just not an important thing. So that's why we have to make it important. No one else is going to do it. You, the individual, every man and every woman over the age of 50 should start getting colonoscopies every 10 years. I do it, you know, I would never tell anybody to do anything I don't do myself. That's just the kind of person I am. If I'm not willing to do it myself, why would I even mention it to someone else, you know? And, of course, sometimes I told people to go jump off a bridge. Well, I'm not going to do that, you know? Okay, let's get down to what this whole segment in this Mish-Mash video is about. The doc said, John, you got to get your colonoscopy. And I said, hold it, time out, doc. I don't have any problem with colonoscopies. It's time consuming and I have to drink all this stuff, but you know, I've suffered through it, what, maybe 6 times now. I've taken about 6 colonoscopies because I have to get mine every 5 years. I said, what about this new thing they have out now called Cologuard? You know, where, the way I understand it, cancer cells put out a certain protein or some kind of chemical, and if they're there, they put it out. If they're not there, it's not there. And this Cologuard thing is a way of testing for that protein or whatever it is, some kind of chemical, whatever it is, DNA kind of thing. I don't know. You know, I'm not a, you know, I don't know much about anything really. But I do know that you have to get colonoscopies every 10 years at a minimum. So I said, my history of colonoscopies has been, they've always been negative. Every time I got tested, it was negative. I said, why don't we try the Cologuard this time, instead of going through all that drinking stuff and everything. And I said, unless you feel that the accuracy of the Cologuard is not as good as it should be. And he said, no. He said, it's 98%, he said, I think. 98% accurate. I said, well, that's pretty good, because a normal colonoscopy is probably around 98%. And I said, why don't I go ahead and go that route? Now, this Cologuard thing's been all over TV. It's on the radio. You hear it all the time. And I've been anxious to give it a shot anyway. And when he happened to mention, you know, you need a colonoscopy, bam, I popped right up with it. I said, I'll tell you what, let's go the Cologuard route. And if it comes back, you know, even questionable or any kind of negative, any kind of, you know, I'll go down and have an actual colonoscopy done by a gastroenterologist. He said, okay, I agree with that. You know, you've been negative up till now. There's no reason really to... He said, this would probably be the last one you're going to need anyway. I said, okay, fine. I'm not sure what that means. I'm going to croak in 5 years. Or he said, I think basically he'd say, hey, look, you've been clean all these years. You know, chances of you getting into the last few years of your life, probably nil. And even if it did, it takes quite a while to kill you. So I went out, on the way out of his office that day, they took my blood test, you know, for my physical and the urine test and all that other jazz. And his receptionist out there gave me a paper. I signed the paper and I dated it, handed it back to her. And next thing I know, 4 days later, a box came through the mail. That's all I did was sign the paper and put a date on it. So if your doctor makes you fill out a whole bunch of paperwork for this, then you're being cheated. You know, they took care of everything. Anyway, the box came in. It's about this big. It's a white box. And you open it up, and there are the things you need to do the Cologuard colonoscopy. And I said, well, this is pretty slick. So the instruction booklet is very clear. There is a YouTube video that shows you step by step from the minute you get the box till the minute you ship the box back. It's all paid for by Medicare, or your insurance company probably pays for it. Even the cost of shipping to return your sample that you send back to them is all prepaid. UPS delivers it, UPS picks it up, and I dropped mine off at the UPS store, and you know, away it goes. I dropped it off this morning. And the whole thing probably took no more than 15 minutes to do, and another 15 minutes to drive downtown, you know, and drop it off. So 30 minutes total, half of that being driving time. So my recommendation to you is, if you don't want to go to a gastroenterologist, you know, give that Cologuard a shot, and talk to your doctor about it. And my doctor, he was all for it. So I don't know. The whole point I'm trying to make is, don't blow it off. Don't say I don't need any of that stuff. Yes, you do. If you're over 50, you do. Don't be part of the next 50,000 people to die next year, or the year after, or the year after that. It'll catch up with you if you don't pay attention to it. One of the doctors in town, an anesthesiologist, that the wifey was going to, he came down with colon cancer. He was a young guy. He was like in his middle 40s. And I talked to him, and he had just gone through all kinds of radiation therapy and what do they call it, chemotherapy, all kinds of stuff. Young fella. And I said, what do you think? He said, I don't know. I said, well, you know, if it doesn't work, you can always go back and take another dose. And he said, I'm not going to do that. I said, what do you mean you're not going to do that? He said, well, I'm just not going to do it again. I said, well, you know, if you don't do it, you could die. You know, why not go through it a second time? Get your radiation, whatever. He said, that's all right. Okay, if that's the way it is, that's the way it is. I couldn't understand his attitude, you know, from a doctor. That didn't make much sense. But that's his life. He can do what he wants. The rest of you, I just cannot urge enough that you get either a colonoscopy done or get this Cologuard thing. I'll come back at a later date. What they do is that once you send this sample in, and they show you how to do it all, I'll put the link underneath to the video. It's like nothing to it. I mean, like 15 minutes, I was ready. It was done. And you send the sample back through the mail to them, and they notify your doctor what the results were. The results don't come back to us. It goes to the doc. And then the doc will call me up and say, John, you're going to die! No, I'm not going to die. No. So I always tell him that. I say, look, if I die, make sure you pour some good liquor on my grave. And he told me, yeah, I'll get you a good bottle of Chivas Regal. I said, okay. Anyway, it's serious stuff. It really is. You know, don't die from colon cancer. It is avoidable. Just like all these people shooting each other is avoidable. You don't have to get rid of guns. You just got to have a little discipline in this country. We have no discipline anymore. It's ridiculous. So I urge you, please get a colonoscopy. All you old guys out there, all you old chicks out there, get it done. Don't let it get you, okay? All right, let's move on to the next section. Today is Monday, the 20th of January, and these are 3 Heathkit items that we took out of Tom's car that I showed you earlier in the video. And he's coming over tomorrow on Tuesday around 11 o'clock. That's his normal day now. And I'm going to have him start tearing these things apart. See if he can't get them operational. They may be fully operational. All he needs to do is clean them up, shine them up, maybe put a little paint on them. And he needs to branch out, you know, beyond a tube radio. Let's see what he can do with some test equipment. I'm sure he'll do good. And it'll help build his confidence and things of that. You know, a little at a time, little of this, little of that. And if he fails, no problem. I'll be here to back him up, because this signal generator stuff and signal tracer stuff from Heathkit was really pretty simple, unless you have broken coils. Now, if you got a bunch of broken coils, then you're better off having 2 of them to maybe make one out of. I don't know. This one here is kind of interesting. It has a switch on it. I don't know what that switch is for. It's a strange thing, and I don't know. Anyway, this is an IG-102. Both of these signal generators are IG-102s. And this is a IT-12 signal tracer. The probe tip is broken off of here. And it'll still work, but this thing here, we can get another one of these things, or just go ahead and solder a tip on the end of it. It'll work fine, you know, as long as the rest of it's okay. We'll come back and show you what we find on that at a later date. Now here's something that's interesting. At my age, I should have known by now, but I didn't. This is a standard ceramic cup, you know, sort of like an old Corningware type of texture. I don't know. If you take a one of those permanent markers by what do they call those things? I think I've got one in here. Yeah, Sharpie. If you take a Sharpie permanent marker, various colors. You can draw all kinds of pictures on it if you want. And you draw on this thing with a permanent, it has to be permanent. And you know, just put stuff anywhere you want, draw a picture. Our step-granddaughter, Cadence, made one of these for wifey and one for me as Christmas gifts, which I thought was kind of neat for her to do. But, you know, she drew pictures and all kinds of things on it, stuff that she liked, designs and whatnot. And once it's on there, you let it dry, and then you take this thing and you bake it. In it, we turn the cups upside down in the oven and bake them at 350 degrees for 1 hour. And then once they were done, we shut off the oven, open up the door, let the cups or plates or whatever it is that you use, it has to be this kind of material here, they cool down. And once they cool down completely, that stuff doesn't come off. It's just the niftiest thing. You can run it through the dishwasher and everything. I thought that was pretty. It bakes it right into there. Isn't that neat? Well, I don't know why it ever took me so long to find that out. But yeah, apparently, I guess if you wash it too many times in the dishwasher, it'll actually fade it out. But that is real. That is right in there. You can't scrape it off with your finger or nothing. It just burns it right in. Slick. A little experiment you can do with your kids if you want. Hallicrafters SX43. I've been having a lot of problems with it. It played great when I first got it. It's back on the bench now. I told you I was going to do that. But when I first got it, it came from our good subscriber, Ron C. And all I did was remove the front because the dial string was really loose on it. I couldn't get the dial string to do anything. So I just removed the front. I didn't touch anything except for the screws to, remove the front. And I tightened up the string. And then I put the front back on. Tightened all the bolts and everything. Didn't touch anything, just that string. And it just wouldn't play anymore. I couldn't believe it. I said, "Are you kidding me?" I didn't do anything. I went back and checked. Maybe I squished a wire or something when I put the front back on. I checked everything. No, I didn't do any of that stuff. It was probably just coincidence. But then I finally got it working again. And now it's got a garble sound, and it's coming around this 6SQ7 right now. And I had a problem over here with the signal strength meter adjustment. It was frozen solid and wouldn't turn. I had to tear it apart. And then I got distracted on the car, and I wind up with 2 wires. I can't remember where they go. I just love this radio stuff. I expected to come back to this, I guess, in a day, and somehow I got distracted completely. And I got to figure out where these wires go. This is a lot of fun, huh? This bundle here was tied together so tight that I had to cut the strings that were holding it. I'll wind up putting it all back together with wire ties. I had to trace it back where it was. I couldn't figure out where these 2 wires went. But now I know. All I got to do now is try to figure out where they are in the schematic, which I have over here. And then we'll see if we can't get this thing back together and turn it back on. I don't know. Just one thing after another, huh? But that's the fun of it, you don't get excited or frustrated or stressed out over this stuff. Nah. Just look at it as a big challenge, and hopefully it'll work when I get done. If not, I'll keep working on it, that's all. Every so often something does come out of China that is very good quality for a very low price. This happens to be one of them. This is a side handle that they use for, I guess, kayaks and whatnot. I needed a handle for my tube tester. It's very heavy. Quite a while ago, I put a strap on it. I bought it at a flea market for $1. It was a suitcase strap, and I said, I'll donate the suitcase back. And they said, no, we'll just charge you for the strap, and instead of the $3 or $4, whatever it was, for the whole, the suitcase and the strap. I said, okay, fine. I think that was at the St. Joseph's Catholic Church flea market. Very nice people there. Anyway, I'm tired of using the strap. It's time to go back to the handle. And I'll tell you what, I looked everywhere on eBay and different places on the internet for a handle for that tube tester. Man alive, did they want a lot of money. It didn't make sense for a stupid little handle to cost that much. So I finally came up with this baby here the other day. I finally got sick of it, and I just kept looking and looking, and I found this. Side handles for a kayak. They were $2.70. I said, well, that's not going to be much much quality there, but I'll go ahead and order it just to see. You know, it's worth a stab for $2.70. I wasn't going to worry about it. This thing is, man, is this thing tough. And it's got that woven straps with screws that go, 2 screws that go through it. I mean, we're talking, this is really quality stuff. That's thick strap. Doesn't look like much. Let me see if I can turn the light on and get a better view here. This is really thick strap. Look at that. And it is solid all the way. It's nylon strap. And let me show you what we're going to do with it. Here's where the original handle was on my triplet tube tester. It just got so old it broke. It's just so old and brittle it just broke right apart. So this is the strap I told you about. I bought that. Some of you remember me buying this several years ago. So what we're going to do is I'm going to take these screws out of here and get rid of these brass pieces. And we're going to take this and stick it in there like that. Let me see if I get the strap out of the way. There we go. We're going to go ahead and set it in there like that. We're going to have a really nice, decent handle now. I cannot tell you how happy I'll be once this crap is gone and this handle's on there. I expect that handle to last forever. Very good quality out of China. We have Tom back with us one more time. He's already taken apart the first IG-102 signal generator, and he tested the tubes on it and found out that both tubes were shot. Now, that doesn't always happen. And so these 2 signal generators used to belong to a repairman, and you can bet they were on the bench and they probably sat there 24 hours a day cooking away until they finally burned the tubes right out of them. I mean, these things are practically stone dead. So he's going to take the tubes out of the second signal generator, clean them up, put them in the tube tester, and see what they have to say. Chances are they'll probably be about the same.
That one's no good.
Well, look at that one right there. Now that one that's pretty much, that's what a blown tube looks like, people. Looks like somebody dumped their glass of milk in it. That is no good. The inside of these two signal generators are very clean. Not bad at all. They look really nice. Now, years ago, you could buy these in a kit and put them together yourself, these Heath kits, or you could buy them already assembled. And
look at that one.
Yeah, that's an old-fashioned. Well, they all did that. Underneath there is metal. Yeah, underneath there, he was looking at the electrolytic capacitor. The outside cover on a lot of these would spin like that. Underneath is metal. That's just an insulator to be able to write on. Anyway, one tube is bad. We'll have to try the other one. This is the 12AT7. Is that what it is?
Yes.
Okay, I gave you a pile of tubes. You've got plenty of 12AT7s, okay? In those tubes I gave you. And this one here is a 6AN8. Let's run that one across, clean it up, run it across to see what that one does. Well, that tube turned out to be good. This is a 6AN8. That turned out to be really nice. These are Mullard tubes, by the way. They're made in Great Britain. Or at least that's what they say on the tube. I threw the other ones away. He's going to, now he's becoming a real repairman. You see this? He's digging around in there. He's going to double check those tubes. You can see he's coming along nicely. Well, there it is. I am so proud to finally have a handle on my triplet tube tester. Is that this thing? Oh, it fits. Boy, it's perfect. Perfect. Strong. It flops over out of the way when you're done. Doesn't have to stick up in the air. That is fantastic. $2.70. All right, I think we'll wrap it up here. One more reminder about that Cologuard thing. Don't delay that if you're over 50. If you've not had a colonoscopy, don't delay it. Go down and talk to your doc. Get the Cologuard. If you don't want to go through the whole procedure, just get the Cologuard. And I talked it over with my wife. You can talk it over with your husband or your wife, and the wife said, well, all you got to do is supply him with a sample, right? I said, that's all. I said, it can't get any easier. And from what I understand, they send you everything. I looked at the YouTube video. It looks like just something anybody can do in a matter of minutes. And she said, well, if that's all they need is a sample. She said, you should have no problem, John, because ever since I've known you, you've been full of samples. Until next time, this is John. I'll tell you what, let's not just end it right now. It's been a while since I've covered any radio type of things. And some of you would rather see some of that than hear about colonoscopies. So I'll tell you what, I've already found where one of the two wires goes, but this one here I have to look at right now. And I thought, you know, why not just show everybody, some of the new folks out there having, you know, they get a radio, they buy it off of eBay or something, they got a wire hanging, or 2 or 3 or 4. And, you know, I just said, oh my God, where does this stuff go? How do I know where to hook it? And if I hook it, will the radio even work? If I hook it to the wrong place, is it going to blow up and catch fire? All the kinds of questions I used to have when I first started out, okay? All right, let me shut this light off. Maybe it'll help a little bit better. Okay, yeah, it does. Okay, this is the wire we have to find out where it goes. All right, by tearing apart the bundle, I've poked it all the way through. You can see I've followed it all the way up, and I found out that it is this wire right here. See it wiggling right there? Let me get a little clarity here. Come on, baby. Maybe a little too close, I guess. Shucks. There we go. Okay, this wire right here that's giving me all the headache is actually this wire right here. Okay, see it move? All right. Now, where does it go? Well, it goes over to one side of this 47K resistor right here, and then the other side, it's where it's hooked right there to that solder joint, swings around, goes through a 47K ohm resistor, and then the other side of the K ohm resistor comes over and goes into this thing right here. You see that little brown wire right there? It's a little insulator they put there so it won't short out against anything, but it goes down and it hooks to a terminal on this thing right here. All right, let's back up. All right, well, and we know where the one end is, and now we know where the other end goes. So how do we find it? Well, we've got a drawing of the top of the chassis, which will help us figure out what this thing is, because the drawing is labeled. And we've also got a schematic right here that we can follow. That'll take us where the wire needs to be connected. So let's go to the top and find out what this is. Well, I've got 1, 2, and I've got 3. Now the third one is what that thing is. This is an IF coil, or an IF transformer, right next to the tuner. Now let's go to our pictorial of the top of the chassis. Interestingly enough, every single tube on the top of the chassis, there is a stamped number into the chassis metal on the other side that tells you what the tube number is. Now it has the tube number stamped in. Now you would think that they would have done the same thing to those 3 IF coils. You know, which one is which? No, too much to ask. So let's go down here to our drawing. Well, here's our tuner right here. And the first one from the tuner is T19. T stands for transformer. T19, right next to the tuner. No problem. Now we find it on the schematic. Now remember, we have to find something on, first of all, we have to find T19 on the schematic, and then find the wire that comes out of it that goes to the 47K ohm resistor. Those lines there, for our newbies, each one of those colors stand for something. And it's a 47,000 ohm resistor, or 47K. So let's go down here. I have found T19. There it is right there, T19. Now I'm looking for a wire that comes out of it. This is a, that's not it right there. I don't know what that little thing is. They don't even have a value on it. It looks like 10 ohms. Then we come out of here. We've got a 22K. Come on, baby. 22K resistor. And there it is right there. A 47K ohm resistor. 1 watt. And that's exactly what that large resistor is. 1 watt. So we come out and we go through the resistor. And now we are on our wire that's dangling that we don't know where it goes. Once we get through that resistor, we're on this wire right here. Alright? So we come through. Here it is right here. We back up. We follow it down, around, around. And we're now at this point here. we're down to the electrolytic capacitors. One right here and one right here, which is this mess right here. Okay, let me back up. It's all this mess right here because I restuffed that electrolytic can with new capacitors and ran new wires out. I've got 2 orange and a red. Now 2 orange, each one of them is 20 microfarads. The red one being the oddball, that's a 60. So we know we're pretty close. We're pretty close. Back to our schematic. Okay, it comes down, it goes across, and it hooks to one side of a resistor, which is a 4.7K. So that's going to be yellow, violet, red, and or 4,700 ohms is what that translates out to. And let me zoom in a little bit more here. My camera's getting all kind of fuzzy here lately. Anyway, we'll have to, you go through the resistor and right into the 60 microfarad electrolytic capacitor right there. So we want to come out of the capacitor, go through that resistor and hook the wire to the other side. I mean, go through the resistor and hook the wire to the other side of that resistor right there, the opposite end from the capacitor. So let's take a look and see what we've got here. This is the 60 coming out. I told you the 60 was red. It hooks to the 4.7K ohm resistor. We go to the other side, and lo and behold, that's where we have to hook our little wire. Now, isn't that cool? Now, what was so hard about that? It's just like a little puzzle, okay? Well, let me get it soldered up. Well, that's it. She's all hooked up. Hopefully next time we'll have this thing making some noise for you in the next Mish-Mash video, or probably the Mish-Mash video after the next one. Because the next one is going to be, I hope it's a fun video. It's going to be about things that annoy me. That's the next Mish-Mash video.